Okay, let's deep dive into something that, well, touches just about everyone at some point.
Yeah.
Navigating the aftermath of a breakup. It's a profound experience, sometimes really devastating, and you've given us some incredibly insightful material to explore the journey through it.
That's right. We've got a stack of perspectives here that really drill down into the emotional landscape after a relationship ends.
Yeah.
They cover the raw pain, the messy process of healing, how we kind of piece ourselves back together,
Right.
understanding different types of connections, and finally, what it genuinely means to be, ready to move forward.
So our goal in this deep dive is to pull out the absolute most valuable insights from these materials, the surprising facts, the practical wisdom, the bits that just make you think, that's it.
Exactly.
To help you make sense of this complex time,
Wow.
hopefully find some footing for healing and approach future relationships with maybe a clearer mind.
And what these sources emphasize right away is that breakup pain isn't just like sadness. It's a legitimate loss.
A real loss.
A significant life change that impacts you emotionally, mentally, and yes, even physically. It can feel like your whole world has been shaken up.
When that initial shock hits,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
The feeling of loss is just intense, often mixed with hurt, anger, deep sadness. And even if ending the relationship felt necessary, or maybe it was mutual,
Right.
those raw emotions don't just neatly pack up and leave, do they?
Not at all. It's a full body, full mind experience. Emotionally, you might be wrestling with anxiety, low self-esteem, maybe even a sense of depression creeping in. Physically, people report fatigue, nausea, sleep disturbances. Your body is reacting to the stress.
Wow.
And mentally, it's just hard to focus. Your thoughts are probably on a constant loop, replaying everything.
It's like your system is just trying to process this huge change.
Yeah.
And a framework some of these sources use to help understand this chaos is looking at it through the lens of the 7 stages of grief.
Like mourning any other significant loss. Yeah.
Exactly.
But it's important to remember this isn't necessarily a neat linear path,
Oh, definitely not.
You might bounce between stages, revisit them, maybe even skip some entirely. But understanding them can provide a kind of map for the emotional territory you're in.
Okay, so stage 1, shock.
That's the initial numbness, right?
Right.
Inability to fully grasp what's actually happening. You might feel insecure, exposed, utterly alone.
Like the floor dropped out,
Exactly. The floor has just disappeared from under you.
followed by denial.
Yeah, refusing to accept the reality. This is often where you might find yourself constantly checking your ex's social media,
Oh yeah,
perhaps trying to make contact, holding on to that little sliver of hope that it isn't truly over,
then isolation.
pulling away from others, spending a lot of time alone, getting caught in that mental loop we mentioned, replaying memories, trying desperately to figure out what went wrong.
Next up, anger.
This is often a shift in energy from just pure sadness. Blame starts to creep in, maybe directed at your ex.
Or yourself.
Or yourself, or maybe even just the world in general. There's frustration there, resentment simmering.
Which can sometimes lead into depression.
Yeah, a phase where the full weight of the loss really settles in. It can be a period of deep sadness and despair as the kind of permanence of the breakup becomes undeniable.
And then emotional volatility. That sounds messy.
It is. It's often a turbulent mix. You're still feeling those intense negative emotions, the sadness, the anger, the hurt, but maybe be interspersed with unexpected moments of hope.
Glimmers.
Yeah, maybe even a surge of motivation as you start to imagine a different future, however faint.
And finally, the stage everyone is sort of aiming for, acceptance.
Coming to terms with the relationship being over, it's not necessarily about being happy about the breakup, right?
Nope.
But it's about reaching a place where you can acknowledge the reality and consciously choose to move forward with your life.
And what's absolutely critical, according to this material, is allowing yourself to actually feel these stages. You can't rush it.
You really can't.
This healing process takes time, and that timeline is completely unique to each person.
Completely. And a significant insight from these sources is how much heartbreak can, erode your sense of self.
Right.
Feeling like a relationship failed can make you question your own worth. And they strongly suggest that the real work of recovery often begins with deliberately focusing on feeling good about yourself again.
Okay, let's get practical then. What steps do these sources suggest for actively rebuilding that self-esteem?
Well, one key strategy is shifting your focus inward. So instead of fixating on perceived flaws or replaying why the relationship ended,
Which is so easy to do.
oh, incredibly easy, consciously choose to think about your strengths, your positive traits, the things you genuinely like about yourself. Remind yourself and really try to accept that everyone has imperfections. It doesn't diminish your value.
So actively countering that negative self-talk loop. What else?
Create physical distance from the past. This means, packing away photos, gifts, anything that constantly reminds you of the relationship.
Out of sight, out of mind.
To some extent, yeah. Avoid places or activities that are strongly tied to your ex if they trigger pain. It's about clearing the space, literally and emotionally.
And fill that space with new things. The idea of staying busy and embracing new experiences seems crucial here.
Absolutely. Think of this as an opportunity to rediscover you. Get a new haircut, try a fitness class you've been curious about, start learning that language.
Travel.
Dive into hobbies you've always wanted to explore. Staying active and trying new things isn't just a distraction. It's a way to build new positive experiences and boost your confidence outside the context of that past relationship.
And you don't have to try to do it all alone either, right? Seeking support is high on the list.
Oh, definitely. Surround yourself with people who genuinely value you, friends, family. Their presence can be a powerful reminder of your worth, totally independent of your relationship status.
Practicing forgiveness comes up too.
Yeah.
That sounds hard.
It can be very hard. But yes, forgiveness both for yourself and your ex for any mistakes made. Holding on to resentment is like carrying this heavy emotional burden that makes it incredibly difficult to heal and rebuild self-respect. Releasing that is presented as a real act of personal strength.
And creating a safe space extends to who you let in.
Yeah.
Socially.
For sure. Limit contact with people who are unsupportive or constantly drag you back to the past relationship. And crucially, avoid the trap of falling back into an unhealthy dynamic with your ex just because you're lonely or scared.
Which is tempting sometimes.
Very tempting.
Perhaps the most foundational piece, though. Giving yourself love and recognizing your inherent worth.
Yes. Reinforce to yourself that you deserve happiness. Your value as a person doesn't depend on being in a relationship.
So important.
And the source is caution against settling for less than you deserve out of impatience or fear of being single. What happened in the past doesn't define who you are now or who you can become.
So as you move through this healing process and start feeling stronger, the question of new connections naturally arises. And that's where the concept of rebound relationships often comes into play, doesn't it?
It does. These sources define a rebound as jumping into a new relationship very quickly after a breakup, often before you really process the emotional impact of the last one.
Why do people do this, according to the insights here? What's the drive?
It's often presented as a way to avoid the difficult feelings that come with grieving a breakup.
Yep.
The sadness, the hurt, the anger.
A distraction mechanism.
Pretty much. Sometimes, though, perhaps less healthily, it can be a deliberate attempt to make the ex jealous.
Ah, right. Okay, so what are some of the red flags based on this material that a relationship might actually be a rebound?
Well, look for signs like starting the new relationship almost immediately after the breakup, specifically to distract from grief.
Okay.
Constantly comparing the new person to your ex is a big one.
Oh, yeah.
If the current relationship feels like it lacks a solid foundation for the future and is mainly there just to avoid being alone, that's a significant indicator.
Right.
Using the new relationship primarily to provoke jealousy in your ex is a definite sign.
That seems unhealthy.
It is, and the sources point out that returning to a past, unhealthy relationship just to avoid being single often just prolongs the healing you actually need to do.
So that's the potential pitfall. On the flip side then, what are the signs that you might actually be genuinely ready for a healthy new relationship, contrasting with those rebound indicators?
Well, a key sign is having accepted the previous breakup without carrying significant residual anger or sadness. You've processed the loss, essentially.
You've made peace with it.
You've made peace with it. You're also actively focused on your own life and growth, feeling like you're on a positive path of self-improvement.
Having rebuilt that self-confidence we talked about earlier seems foundational too.
Absolutely. And crucially, you're not looking to a relationship to fix you or make you happy. You're content and stable on your own.
That's a big one.
It is. You feel prepared to navigate challenges and communicate effectively. You're ready for the give and take required in a healthy partnership.
Readiness for commitment and genuinely wanting to invest in a new connection is also vital, I imagine.
Yes, and having clarity about what you genuinely want and need in a partner and being able to articulate that.
Knowing yourself.
Knowing yourself. And finally, feeling emotionally grounded and ready to offer love, care, and support to someone else after having processed those past memories and experiences.
Okay, so moving beyond the immediate post-breakup phase and into thinking about future connections, these sources also offer insights into different ways we experience love and the principles that build healthy relationships.
Yeah, they make an interesting distinction between what they term romantic love and mature love.
Okay.
One is perhaps more superficial, the other deeper and more sustainable.
So romantic love sounds like maybe the infatuation stage, that initial spark.
Often, yes. It's described as heavily focused on external appearance, looks, physique, style.
The surface stuff.
Pretty much. There's often a constant, almost obsessive preoccupation with the person, impulsivity, and seeing them as flawless.
Rose-tinted glasses.
Totally. Disagreements might involve anger or shouting, and that initial intense feeling might fade significantly after physical intimacy.
And mature love, how does that differ?
This runs much deeper. It's based on the partner's core essence, their thoughts, their values, their character, how they behave.
The real person.
The real person. It's realistic, blending emotion with clear-eyed reason. It involves planning a future together, seeing both strengths and weaknesses authentically.
Accepting the flaws.
Accepting the flaws, exactly. And the connection deepens over time rather than fizzling out. Disagreements are handled calmly and with confidence.
Okay, so to build those kinds of mature, healthy connections, the sources outline some fundamental rules or principles.
They list 5 key ones. First, praise, offering genuine, sincere compliments without expecting anything back.
Just appreciation.
Just appreciation. It simply makes others feel valued.
Listening is next on the list.
Yes, actively engaging with what the other person is saying, not just waiting for your turn to talk.
That's hard sometimes.
It is. Interacting with their points and offering advice where appropriate. It's presented as a surprisingly rare but essential skill for connection.
Focusing on positive topics is key too.
Right. Steering conversations towards positive subjects, shared interests, humor, avoiding getting bogged down in excessive negativity or draining topics that just wear people out.
Rule number 4, maintaining moderation or no exaggeration. What's that about?
This is about balance, especially in the early stages of getting to know someone. Not overwhelming them with intense interest right away.
Coming on too strong.
Exactly. Or, conversely, neglecting them after the initial spark fades. It's about finding a steady, comfortable rhythm.
And finally, the principle of mutual exchange. Giving and taking.
Ensuring the relationship has mutual benefit. It shouldn't feel one-sided. Both people should feel their contributions and their presence are valued equally. Makes sense, right?
Absolutely. Now, let's address the really complex question that often arises after a breakup. Does finding a new relationship actually help you heal?
Ooh, the big one.
Yeah, there's that common social perception, isn't there, that moving on quickly might be seen negatively. Like you didn't care enough about the previous relationship or something.
There absolutely is, and it's interesting how the material tackles this. It offers a more nuanced, science-backed perspective that challenges that simple social view.
Okay, so what does the research suggest?
Well, some findings indicate that for some people, moving on faster might actually correlate with certain positive outcomes.
Really?
Yeah. In one study mentioned, those who found new partners relatively quickly reported increased confidence, felt more desired, and seemed to have a smoother emotional ride post-breakup.
Interesting.
The idea is that maintaining a sense of connection could help maintain emotional stability during what is a really difficult time.
That's kind of counterintuitive to the idea that you must be completely alone for a long period to heal properly.
It definitely adds complexity. But the sources also quickly add the nuance that those who move on quickly might sometimes be doing so driven by underlying insecurities that perhaps were present in their previous relationship. So the speed itself isn't necessarily the sign of health or deep healing, you know?
Right, it's not just about the timing.
No, just the timing.
And there's the common belief that, going through a breakup automatically makes you a fundamentally stronger, more mature person.
These sources question that too. They introduce the psychological concept of positive illusions.
Okay, what's that?
It's easy for us to believe we've grown significantly more than objective reality might show after a difficult experience.
Like a coping mechanism.
Kind of, yeah. Perhaps as a way to boost self-esteem that took a hit. Telling yourself you're now completely independent and wise, even if that's not entirely true yet, can be a comforting narrative.
So the real growth might come not just from the experience itself, but from what you consciously learn and apply from it.
Precisely. The material highlights that individuals who showed greater personal growth post-breakup were often those who could identify specific, concrete lessons they learned from the failed relationship.
Like what?
Something tangible they needed to improve upon, like learning how to better communicate their needs, maybe.
Okay.
Or genuinely apologizing when they were wrong. That kind of specific learning is portable. You can take it to future relationships.
And how might our individual tendencies, maybe our attachment styles, influence how we navigate this and how quickly we seek new connections?
Oh, attachment styles, formed by our early experiences, certainly play a role.
Right.
They influence how we seek or avoid intimacy and emotional support. The sources note that people with certain insecure attachment styles, like those who are anxious, might be more prone to seeking a new relationship quickly, perhaps driven by a strong need for validation or a deep-seated fear of being alone.
And what if the new person reminds you of your ex? That seems risky.
It's a significant potential pitfall discussed in the material. There's a tendency to unconsciously repeat old patterns or transfer assumptions from the ex onto the new partner, especially if there are superficial similarities. You might project the same traits or behaviors onto them, leading to potential disappointment when they inevitably don't fit that preconceived mold.
Because we seek consistency.
Exactly. We tend to seek consistency even if we have to kind of create it through projection sometimes.
So to wrap up this complex point,
Yeah.
is a new relationship after a breakup a magic cure? Is that the takeaway?
The consensus from these sources seems to be no, not necessarily.
Okay.
While a new connection can offer some psychological benefits and provide support during the healing process, it's not a guaranteed fix for the pain of a breakup,
Right.
or a substitute for genuine personal growth. True moving forward seems to depend more on processing the past, learning those concrete lessons, and rebuilding your internal sense of self,
Regardless of relationship status.
regardless of whether or when a new partner enters the picture.
So we've navigated quite a journey today. We've acknowledged the intense pain, walked through the potential stages of grief, delved into the absolutely vital work of rebuilding your sense of self, explored the differences between rebound connections and healthy ones, understood different types of love, and examined the complex reality of seeking new relationships while you're healing.
And these sources really underscore that healing is a deeply personal process. There's no universal timeline or rigid set of rules, but understanding the emotional terrain and having strategies for self-care and conscious growth can make an enormous difference.
Okay, so here's a final thought to leave you with. Considering these sources suggest that we might sometimes perceive ourselves as having grown more than we objectively have after a challenging experience like a breakup. Those positive illusions.
Right.
What concrete steps can you focus on taking right now to ensure you're truly learning and actively building a stronger foundation for yourself, independent of whether or when a new relationship comes along?
What tangible skill could you focus on developing, maybe? Or what specific lesson can you commit to applying in your life going forward?
Something to really mull over.